Welcome to New Life Live, the premier place to receive free advice from Christian psychologists and counselors for the mental, emotional, relational, and spiritual challenges you face. Since 1988, we've offered compassionate responses that combine God's truth with proven psychological principles to guide you toward healing. Our phone lines are open. Call us now at 1-800-229-3000.
Merry Christmas and welcome to New Life Live. We're so glad that you're with us. One of my favorite all-time Christmas movies is It's a Wonderful Life. And my wife makes fun of me, very appropriately, by the way. It's well earned because I'm always going around, Merry Christmas, like the old Jimmy Stewart, right? So Merry Christmas, you old New Lifers.
Merry Christmas.
So, Dr. Jacqui Mack-Harris, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas,
Dr. Sheri Keffer, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you both and to you all. It's great to be here on Christmas Day. How fun is this?
It's fantastic. And okay, Jacqui, I'm curious. What present do you have for us this day?
I have, first I'm going to start with the scripture. I asked God, it's Christmas Day. What do I get to talk about today? And this is what came up for me. One of them, an expert in the religious law, tried to trap him with this question: Teacher, which is the most important commandment in the law of Moses? Jesus replied, you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. A second is equally important. Love your neighbor as yourself. The entire law and all the demands of the prophets are based on these two commandments. And in this season, in my work, one of the things I'm noticing is the difficulty that people are having in their relationships. Mm-hmm. And I just want people this Christmas to remember to love God, love themselves, and love others. All of the stuff that is going on in the world around us is going on in the world around us. It does not surprise God at all. But he told us to be peacemakers. He told us as much as it is possible within us to keep the peace. And he told us to love God with everything in us and to love ourselves and to love others like we love ourselves. And I think this Christmas, the best gift we can give is to release ourselves from the confinements of anger and disappointment and bitterness and disagreement with people who don't think like we think, and just love one another.
Yeah.
Go into 2025 with the knowledge that God loves you so much that he came to make a way for you to stay in relationship with him, even though we make choices that he's not happy with, even though we do things he disagrees with. Yeah. How dare we cut people off because they think differently than we think, or disparage them because they think differently than we think, when we serve a God who has been so generous and forgiving to us. And so I just want to remind people that Christmas, Emmanuel came.
Yeah.
And they said he would save his people.
Yeah.
And so if we stand on that as believers, we've had so much to rejoice about. It's a time to celebrate that Jesus is real and a king is born.
Yeah. Well, and it just reminds me, too, that love takes work.
It takes work.
A couple of years ago, as I was working on a book, and not yet published, but I was really diving into the characteristics of love described in 1 Corinthians 13. Patience, kindness, hopefulness.
Doesn't keep record of wrongs.
Yeah, truthfulness. And what is unlove, right? Like envy, jealousy, fits of rage, or easily angered, wrong-keeping, self-seeking. Rooting those things out of our lives, replacing unlove with love, it takes work.
It takes work.
And it's funny because you pick the right word, peacemakers. Do you know there's a difference between peacekeeper and peacemaker?
Yeah.
A peacekeeper is somebody that's being harmed and is a doormat. A peacemaker is somebody that does the harder work of love, that has to make a treaty with somebody, that has to say, this isn't working for me. We need to figure something else out. And so there's some effort, like you said, and we can be peacemakers, right?
Absolutely. And we're going to spread more love and participate in God's love right after this break.
We went to the intimacy in marriage. We were both done.
Intimacy in marriage, I have witnessed it taking people who were done. We give them information they just didn't have. So many people think, I've done everything. I promise you, you haven't done everything. And when you come to intimacy in marriage, you're going to be immersed into a 3-day process where you take in the information. You have people around you who understand you, who can validate you. But then here's the biggie. You get to practice what you're learning.
The Intimacy in Marriage Weekend is February 14th to the 16th in Orange County, California. Register online at newlife.com or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and use the discount code NLL to save $50. 1-800-639-5433.
The transformation, phenomenal. It has transformed our lives so much.
1-800-639-5433 and the discount code NLL. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live, and again, Merry Christmas. Glad that you are with us today, and we're going to go right to the phones. We're going to talk to Phoebe, who is listening in Phoenix, Arizona, who connects with us through the app. Phoebe, tell us what's going on today.
Hi, and thank you so much for taking my call.
No problem.
I've been listening for years and love the resources that you've recommended, and so much great advice. So you're appreciated more than you'll ever know.
Oh, well, thank you, Phoebe. And you're appreciated more than you will ever know. That feeling is very mutual.
My question today is regarding our youngest child. She's a teenager, and within the last 30 days there have been some anger outbursts. She hasn't shown this type of anger before, but during Thanksgiving I saw kind of an escalation that I haven't seen from her, and I'm just wondering if we should be considering some additional resources to help her kind of regulate better emotionally.
Yeah.
In terms of managing anger and disappointment and things like that.
Let me jump in, Phoebe, and ask, because this is important. Is there like a topic or something? Is there a trigger point that you can recognize or notice that kind of sets her off?
So the thing that I noticed within the last 30 days is that she has this extreme drive, no pun intended, to be able to use the car. She's about 90 days out from getting her license. Okay. And she feels as though she should be driving so many places.
Okay.
So we have more than one car, and so if my husband is at work and there's only one car in the house, I've already made it very clear I don't want to be at this house without a vehicle. The bus stop is more than a mile away. I have no way to get around if something would occur that I would need to leave the house.
Okay. And do you know where she's going? Like, what's on the other end of the drive?
So she's going to work, which her job is about a half a mile from the house.
Okay.
So my solution was I can drop you off on my way to dance class or wherever I'm going. I check out her work schedule and make sure that she has a ride to work. The only way, my husband and I have talked to her and said the only way that you can use the car is if the people that are at the house are still left with the vehicle. So when nobody's doing anything, we allow her to drive to work. But she's constantly asking to use the car to drive to work when it would leave a person here without a vehicle. Okay. We've already made it clear that that's not acceptable.
So use of the car has been like the central theme of the conflicts and her emotional escalation, correct?
For the most part, these last 30 days, yes. That's probably the majority of it. She was screaming at her sister who was home from college about her going to see a friend and meet a friend for breakfast before she returned from Thanksgiving break, and asked her, she said, I have to go to work. Are you going to breakfast with your friend or not? And she was just very, very rude to her and mean to her. And I just told her, I said, so you're going to get dropped off, and we'll leave the car here so that your sister has options to be able to see her friend before she leaves to go back to college.
Okay. Yeah.
So she was very irritated about that, sent us back a text message and said, whoever's picking me up, come now, ! And emphasis with a little emoji.
Okay.
So,
and you're saying that this is newer behavior, correct?
it is, but she also kind of attacked her sister when her sister mentioned she was going back to college earlier than expected. She only wanted to leave one day earlier because she felt like she needed to study and do some other things on campus. So she left early from Thanksgiving break.
Uh-huh.
And I could hear her. I was in another room, and I could hear her screaming at her sister.
Okay, so let me do this, Phoebe, because I think we got a good picture of what's going on now. And so, but let's jump in. What's going on with Phoebe's daughter? Jacqui, what do you think?
I think that there's something else bothering her, that she doesn't feel like she has a voice. She's been becoming a driver for a while, and she's still 90 days out. So the last 30 days, that being more of an issue seems off. Is this your older daughter's first semester away at college?
It is not. She's a junior.
So she's been away at college for a while. Is this your younger daughter's first job?
Yes.
How long has she been at the job?
Over a year.
Okay, so that's not new. It seems as though something triggered her to now start to be more intense and argumentative. She's never had this attitude towards her sister before. They didn't have arguments last time sister came home to visit.
No.
I would be curious. There's I think a concern about, should you do something more around like anger management. I would recommend she be in therapy, and then they can figure out what she's angry about. Because the idea of anger management work, it seems like people think that that's going to make a person who has anger not be angry anymore. But really, you're just teaching tools to deal with the anger when you get angry, because things happen in life that sometimes infuriate us. But being in therapy would allow her to tell her story, to get really underneath what is really bothering her. You may not have eyes on whatever the actual problem is. She may not be being forthright with what's really bothering her. She may not even know what's really bothering her.
Yeah.
Does she have a social group? Friends that she hangs out with?
She does. Yeah, she definitely hangs out with friends. And she has asked to use the car to visit friends, but this is her first season driving. We live in an area where the weather can be bad. So this would be her first season trying to drive in bad weather.
You said she's getting licensed, so she's still pre-licensed, right?
No, she actually passed her driver's test 90 days ago.
Okay.
Oh, 90 days ago. Okay.
But the key is like, we're using the car, but the car seems to be an excuse for her anger. There's something deeper going on here that she's not talking about.
Well, it seems like the car represents freedom,
mm-hmm.
and somehow her freedom, she had in mind that being a driver would give her more freedom and autonomy, mm-hmm. and it's not.
Yeah.
Well, and think about every teenager on planet Earth says, Mom and Dad, give me freedom and I'll show you that I'm responsible. And then every parent says, well, show me you're responsible and I'll give you freedom. And it's like the great clash, right?
Oh, that's so good.
It's the great clash that causes conflict between parents and their kids. But I love Jacqui's recommendation for counseling, because I think there's something else also. Nothing is lined up. The last 30 days, I always kind of, when something changes, I'm like, all right, what's the precipitating event? Mm-hmm. It might have to do with a relationship that you might not be aware of. It might have to do with this freedom, give me freedom. I mean, if she's been working for a year, does she have a savings account?
She does.
Okay, and has the conversation around, well, hey, what do you think about, maybe purchasing your own vehicle? What do you think about that?
We definitely have had that conversation with her, but she said that it would take her too long to save up for a car. She has put on her Christmas list 3 different cars that she would like. So she's thinking about one, but not one that she would be paying for.
Well, so that's called entitlement.
Thank you, Sheri. Yes. Yeah.
A lot of times in families, especially families where, there's structure and there's money available and finances. And I think there's a lot of families that think they owe it to their kids to get what they want. The parent might say, well, I want you to drive this kind of car. And the kid's like, well, I want this kind of car. But the bottom line, do you know what my first car was? My first car was a 1972 Buick Limited that I paid $500 for. And I'm not trying to give you I walked 10 miles in the snow story. What I'm trying to give you is that I took $500 of my own money and purchased a vehicle that I could drive with. It gave me my freedom. And I was actually your daughter's age when I did that. And, I think a lot of times today as parents, Dr. John Townsend wrote a book called The Entitlement Cure.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's a book we have here, but I want you to go get it. I want you to order it on Amazon, because I think every parent who's in your stage of life with a teenage child who puts 3 cars on their Christmas list, about what she wants, you're dealing with the normal issues of entitlement, which are, I'll tell you what I want and how to do it. I know what's best. But the parent fails to realize that there's other means of that child, that young adult, getting what they need. And she might say, but I don't want to buy a car for $1,000. That's not my dream car. And I'm like, I know. It doesn't have to be your dream car. It's a set of wheels, because you know what? You're kind of bummed every time I have to take you to work. And so maybe investing in a car that you could use and sell once you have the money to buy something nicer. And she's going to go, well, but you got our older sister a BMW. And so why can't I have mine now? I mean, I don't know what the situation is. But do you see how all of that can spiral out of control? But ultimately, your daughter has the right. Well, ultimately, she has an option to buy a vehicle if you're comfortable with that, and which would release you and release her at the same time from the tug of war.
That's really good, Sheri. Because I have a confession. Here's the confession. I have a 13-year-old, and he's a great kid. But man, does that kid come with a high drive and high entitlement. He thinks he deserves a lot of things, and he gets really, really mad when we don't give it to him. So I started confronting entitlement in him. Here's the confession part. God showed me I needed to start with myself. What entitlements am I bringing to the table? And you know what the first thing that was I was confronted with? I'm not entitled to a compliant 13-year-old male. He's not compliant. and I am not entitled to it. I'm not entitled to it. And what the gift, though, is it's helped me go in and confront things inside of me that I may be holding on with resentment and disappointment and bitterness or entitlement. And I'm discovering this whole new freedom, internal freedom, by this is step work language, by asking God to remove the character defect of entitlement from me. And you know what I've discovered? Something much better than external freedom. Internal freedom. Because freedom is not getting what you want when you want and how you want it. That's actually called addiction. Freedom is to just not to have it and be content. That's real freedom. And so I think that there's an opportunity here. And I also want to encourage you, like as parents, that her anger, you're reacting to her anger. And I get it. I do the same thing. But what I never get to with my son when I react to his anger is what the truth of his protest really is. And that takes work. So we're going to send you a copy of How We Love Our Kids. I want you to go online, order that book by John Townsend, The Entitlement Cure, and get to work with your daughter and really discover what's going on underneath her. And again, we definitely encourage you to get into some counseling and some good family counseling to guide you along the way. Phoebe, thank you so much for calling in today. We wish you a very Merry Christmas, and we're going to take more of your calls when we come back after this break.
Hello, everybody. This is Becky Brown. And as we end 2024, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's given to New Life. Your generosity makes it possible for hurting people to connect with the help that they need, help that can change everything for them and that will continue to have a ripple effect on their families, their communities, and even the world. Right now, you can double the impact of your giving through a $385,000 matching gift opportunity. Every dollar gets doubled. To make a tax-deductible gift and be part of Life Change, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to newlife.com or text the word MATCH to 28950. That's 28950. I know that you want to make a difference in someone's life, and you will as you give to the match. Thank you in advance.
Club New Life changes lives.
You guys came along into my life in 2022. That was a really, really difficult year of my life.
You can help New Life Ministries provide Christ-centered hope and counseling resources to thousands of people by joining Club New Life today.
I began to really process a lot of things that I've needed to for a long time, and y'all were a very big part of that.
When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, you'll make a difference in the lives of individuals and families with godly counsel and connection to help.
I came out of it having never experienced anything like that, and y'all were there.
Join today and help continue the message of hope to a troubled world.
I knew I had to keep going, and I joined Club New Life, and y'all have been the resource that has now been a light for my wife and I.
Go to newlife.com/CNL, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places.
Keep doing what you do because it makes a difference.
newlife.com/CNL. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live. So glad that you are with us today.
On Christmas Day.
Oh, Merry Christmas. You know, here is one of the really, really cool realizations, is that families are celebrating together today because of the work of New Life. There are marriages that have been restored. There's families who have gotten healthy. There is reconciliation that has happened all because of, first and foremost, God's redemptive power. That's what makes it all possible for us to do what we do. But the other thing that is so essential that makes it happen is our financial partnership with those who support our ministry. And so the first thing I want to do on this Christmas is thank you from the bottom of my heart for supporting this ministry. And for those of you who have supported it, I want you to picture just that. I want you to picture that the families that are together, the marriages that are intact, the children that are growing up in healthier homes because you've decided to make that step of contributing to us. If you'd like to give towards that life transformation, you can be like Sally in Lincoln, Nebraska, or Joyce in Bluegrass, Iowa, or Susan in, I don't know if I can say this right, but I love this town, the name of this town, Schenectady, New York. Schenectady, New York. I'm just going to go with it, New York. But you can send the word match to 28950. And the reason why you can send the word match to 28950 is because anything you give right now is doubled due to the generosity of a matching gift right now. You can also just go to newlife.com or give us a call at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
It's perfect time for end of the year gifts. Just imagine, you giving a gift to New Life. You may normally do that at the end of the year, but imagine instead of just giving one package, New Life gets 2 packages underneath our tree.
Yeah.
And it's powerful. It's the time to do it. So think about what you might give and double it by doing it before the end of the year here.
Absolutely. We're going to go back to the phones. We're going to go to Brenda in Charleston, South Carolina, who listens to us on Sirius XM. Brenda, how's it going today?
I'm good. Thank you for taking the call.
No problem. Thank you for calling in. How can we help you?
So I am a Christian, and I've always had faith and been a believer. I've been married for 20 years, together 23 with my husband, but we separated this summer. In February, he disclosed some behaviors that I had no idea about, and we had been to a counselor, and he didn't disclose things to our counselor as well, but of course our counselor said, well, these are kind of the things you can do. And my husband did go to a rehab facility in Arizona.
Okay.
And they extended his time a bit. They weren't sure about me going to Family Week. I did go to Family Week, and it was a disaster. It was not good for me or for my husband. And I wrote a therapeutic separation, and the facility said, here's the 3 things that we suggest you do, and he didn't do any of them. That being said, he has done a church support group, and he's done Every Man's Battle, but he hasn't been in therapy. He doesn't have a CSAT or therapist, or he's and I really struggle with I believe it was Moses not Jesus, who said you can divorce because of sexual immorality. It wasn't Jesus who said that. It wasn't our God and Savior who said that. He said don't divorce. He said don't separate. He did. 1 Corinthians says if they abandon you, that's a different story, kind of thing. But
well,
I'm really struggling.
Yeah, well, Brenda, just for a bit of clarification, the Gospel of Luke in that part of Scripture does not give a disclaimer for divorce, but the Gospel of Matthew absolutely does. It is, not lawful for divorce unless there is unfaithfulness, and believe that does speak specifically to sexual acting out in the marriage. If I am getting a picture correct and familiar with the place that you're speaking of, that he went to rehab, I'm telling you, it takes quite a bit to extend time there. And what I mean by that is in their recommendation, that means that he's most likely still living in some sort of place of denial and not in the full gravity of his condition, his behavior, and definitely the impact. And that's probably why the family program was so painful and disastrous. And first and foremost, I'm so sorry for that. That is, that can feel like a double wound at that point in time. And again, not to invest all of that time and money and not to do the aftercare, but and this is, I think there are some really, really good church programs out there. But one of the things that we see over and over, that I see over and over, is that guys that are in recovery and not as serious, that will go to any measure possible, and that's usually what it takes, any measure possible, will find a sort of half measure that they can hide in. Does that sound familiar?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let me just affirm what's going on inside of you, that he's not in it, not doing the work, and he's still hiding. And so
Right.
you called in at the exact right day, because I have Dr. Sheri Keffer sitting right next to me. And when we come back from the break, she's going to give you some fantastic support and guidance in what to do next, because it's really important and your heart's important. So hang on, and we're going to be back right after this.
I've been struggling with a porn addiction for the last 20 years.
Are you struggling with porn? New Life's Every Man's Battle Intensive can help.
Every Man's Battle explains to you why you are like you are, and they give you the tools and they show you how to work your way through the problems and where to get help and how to get help and who to get help through.
For over 20 years, New Life Ministries has been helping men regain their integrity and purity through their one-of-a-kind Every Man's Battle Intensive.
This was the first time in my life that I ever felt comfortable sharing the real me with other men.
Get help on January 20th in Atlanta. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE to register or to find out more. 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com. Use the discount code NLL to save $50 on your registration.
Every Man's Battle was a life-changing experience for me.
You don't have to struggle any longer. 1-800-NEW-LIFE and the discount code NLL.
I was sort of vaguely familiar that the 12 steps had some origination in the Bible. I found Life Recovery, and one of the things I liked so much was that it had such a broad appeal. It wasn't limited to just alcohol or drugs, that it was addressing a wide range of problems.
At New Life, we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country. They take place online, in conference calls, and in person. And if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. We have startup materials, leaders' guides, CDs, Bibles, and more, all with discounts available for groups. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and ask for Terry Ward. The 12 Steps have long been a great help to people in recovery because much of the 12 Steps' power comes from the fact that they capture principles clearly revealed in the Bible.
The 12 steps is really a pattern for all of us as Christians.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live. So glad that you are with us today. We are really glad that Brenda is with us today, calling in because she's just in this really difficult, painful situation. That disclosure of husband sexual acting out, went to treatment, and is not doing the work, and she's left with that reality.
Can I say something before you jump in?
Yeah,
Sheri? The idea that since Moses said it, it didn't come from God is confusing because Moses is the one who God gave the law to. And so I just would have you, Brenda, to take a step back and re-look at that. Because the Bible is meant to bring us freedom, not to control and trap us. And sometimes we get locked into ways of thinking that don't really align. God gave it's not his desire that we would divorce, but he gave that law for a reason, because people can be cruel. And he doesn't intend for us to live in cruelty and being mistreated. So that option is there for that reason. And Jesus then validated it. So I just wanted to put that out there.
That's good. Thank you, Jacqui.
And let me just add to that. Brenda, the 9th commandment is you shall not bear false witness. Do you know what your husband is doing right now? He is not only in denial, but he's in deception.
That's good.
He's bearing false witness with you. He's bearing false witness with the treatment facility. He's actually bearing false witness with the men at his church and even the guys that were at EMB. He is not being honest.
Maybe not with himself.
Yeah. And I work with guys, Brenda, that actually they're not only lying to the people in their world that they really are committed to love, they're lying to themselves. It's self-deception.
Mm-hmm.
And so as long as your husband is in self-deception and he's not facing the truth of his sexual acting out, he's not coming clean, he's what I call kicking tires.
That's good, yeah.
He's just kicking tires. But for you, the devastation lies in what do I do with a man who we've spent thousands of dollars and he's not taking his recovery and sobriety seriously.
Right.
So for you, it must make you feel stuck. Like, there's nothing I can do about this. And so you stepped into a therapeutic separation, but then you're kind of in conflict with yourself because of this idea that somehow I'm disappointing God, or this isn't what I wanted.
Right.
This has never been my plan. And I am so with you, girl. So with you, girl. In my book, Intimate Deception, I don't know if you have a copy of it. Do you have a copy?
No,
okay.
I don't.
Yeah, I wrote a book. It's called Intimate Deception, Healing the Wounds of Sexual Betrayal. And I was married to Connor, who actually was a pastor. And we went through 4 years of therapy every week. I went, he went, and we went together. And while we were in treatment, and even went to an intensive, like a 90-day treatment facility, do you know that he was having affairs with other women? Yes, thank you. That felt good, just to have that catch your breath. And was actually seeing prostitutes while we were in treatment.
Oh, boy.
Okay. The only reason I tell you that is not because I'm trying to add something, project onto your story that isn't true, but what I'm saying is Connor was not in the work, doing the work. He was faking it. And I went back to the pastors at the church, and I was upset. I was like, what? Why did you not hold him accountable better? I had some conversations to have because it cost so much. It cost me our marriage, our life. And one of the pastors said this to me, and I'll never forget it. He looked at me and he said, Sheri, you can only hold someone accountable who wants to be accountable. Your husband isn't even there. Mm-hmm. So what can you do? What can you give yourself permission to do right now without shaming yourself? Without feeling burdened in a way that God isn't even burdening you. There's things that God says he hates. Yeah, he hates divorce, but he says there are 6 things that I hate, no 7 that I hate. He says there's 7 things he hates. This is in addition to divorce. Feet that run towards evil. Hands that shed innocent blood, a man who tells lies, or a person who tells lies. Like, read that in Proverbs. There's 7 things. Mm-hmm. So we can get kind of tripped up around the one thing that, as Chris said, the sexual acting out that you know of. Do you know what they are? What are you comfortable sharing? Just a couple of them?
Yeah, and I there's still a part of me that definitely feels like I don't know everything clearly, but strip clubs and partying, kissing girls. He reached out to an ex on social media, and apparently his first love, which I'd had no idea about, was a stripper.
Okay. First off, I'm so heartbroken for you. What is that like to know your husband has been sexually acting out with other women? You get it. Connor was with prostitutes. Your husband's done the same.
Yeah.
What's that like for you right now?
Heartbreak.
What do you want to do with your marriage right now? with a husband who's kicking tires?
I've even told him, I'm worried about eternity. I'd rather be in eternity with him.
Okay.
Than right now.
Because it's so hard right now. It's so hard right now that you'd rather bounce into another place. But let me ask you something. There's something in you, and I wondered about it when you were talking. And so hang on to me here, will you, Brenda? Hang on tight. Because what you just said confirms to me where I think you might be right now. In the midst of the pain and the shock and the brokenheartedness and the horror of finding this out. Because you said, I'd rather just be with him in eternity.
I want him to be. I don't want to be in eternity right now, but I want him to end up in eternity with me, opposed to, if that means we're not together now, I still want to be together when we're not. I want him to make it to eternity.
I know. And you know what, sweet one? There is nothing you can do about his decision right now. I want you to back up. And I think a part of what might be going on for you, and this is a coping strategy, it's denial. Hi, my name is Sheri. I did denial. I put my hands over my eyes because I just couldn't deal with the pain. And you know what I did? I spiritualized reality. Mm-hmm. I spiritualized it. I looked away because I didn't want to face what was staring at me right in the face. But girl, your friend is reality right now. Reality is acknowledging what's true, what's honest, what you're facing. And then basically reality is, I got honest with myself, I got honest with others, and I'm taking steps to own it, grieve it, and deal with it. There's a lot of grief work you have to do right now because you're married to a sex addict who is not ready. He may still be acting out right now under our nose.
Well, and let me just take that even a step further towards reality. Melissa, you're not in a marriage. That's not what this is.
Yeah.
But you're going to need a lot of support. You're going to need a lot of your own recovery to continue to move towards getting the strength to take those necessary steps. We are definitely sending you a copy of Intimate Deception. We have Restore coming up in the new year. And most importantly, right now, today, even Christmas Day, to reach out and continue your work of strengthening and healing and getting the feet back under you and the reality that you're dealing with, because there is a much better reality on the other side of this work. I've seen it all the time. Brenda, thank you so much for calling in, and we'll be praying for you, and we'll be back right after this.
We all face days where life throws us a curveball and our routines or plans get disrupted. Things we wanted to do are forced to take a backseat to the unexpected demands of the day. If you normally listen to New Life Live on a radio station, well, you might not be able to that day. And on these hectic days when you're feeling stressed or frazzled, hearing the sound of counsel given on New Life Live is just what you need to navigate the unexpected things of life.
Every time I'm troubled or I have a problem, I'll cut on New Life, and there's always something that is said that is helpful to me.
By listening, I have learned more than I can ever express about how God wants me to live.
Download the New Life app for the easiest way to listen wherever you are and at a time that's convenient for you, or watch the show on our YouTube channel. You can even subscribe to our podcast from your favorite podcast provider. You never have to miss a day of New Life. Wherever you are, we are. For over 35 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
Your ministry has saved my life.
If you struggle with emotional hurt, family or marriage problems, the pit of depression, or the pain of addiction, we can help.
I'm down 100 pounds now from what I was.
I found a counselor through New Life Ministries, and it's just been outstanding.
Our treatment programs provide clinically appropriate solutions from licensed professionals, all in a biblical framework.
I have had problems with alcohol. I think God has ordained this place to be His.
You don't have to be a prisoner of your pain. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
She tells me that I'm a new man, and I feel like a new man.
It worked for me, and it can work for them too.
This time it is different.
If you're ready to take the first steps toward genuine spiritual and emotional healing, call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. God can open the door for a better tomorrow.
To get someone that's competent, that's good at what they do, it's been like day and night compared to what I've had before.
Call 1-800-639-5433. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live. Thank you for being with us today and wishing you a very, very Merry Christmas. With that, we are going to go back to our phones and we're going to go to Melissa listening in Maricopa, Arizona, who connects with us on YouTube. Melissa, how's it going?
Hi, I'm good. Can you hear me?
I can hear you well.
Oh, great. How are you guys?
Doing good. And tell us, what's going on with you?
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you for what you guys do. I've been listening to New Life for several years. You've been a tremendous help to me. So I thank you guys for that.
Oh, well, thank you for being a part of it.
Thank you. I'm calling for my little brother. He's 27 years old. And recently, my mom has shared that he's been suffering from depression. And I guess he had a serious episode the other day. He was just in tears, feeling really depressed, walked out of the house, and basically my mom did not know where he was, and she was scared he was going to harm himself. He came back hours later and said that, I guess, I don't know what changed his mind, but he said he was initially just going to keep walking and not come back. But he somehow changed his mind, came back, and she called me and told me what happened, and I basically had suggested that he get in front of a psychiatrist, so we can figure out what's going on. Oh, and just to add, he's having paranoid thoughts, thinking that someone is after him or watching him, like the police are also watching him, that kind of paranoid thoughts.
Melissa, can I ask you a question? Is he smoking marijuana?
Sure. She did say he tried gummies or something, but I have known in the past that he has tried things like that, like I think it's gummy marijuana or something, but claims he's not using it now.
Okay.
But just to speed things up, just to tell you what happened after that, he apparently has a nurse practitioner that prescribed him Zoloft. So he called his nurse practitioner. She gave him a prescription for Zoloft. So that now he's taking that. He's never gotten in front of a psychiatrist. So and that's what I was concerned about. I was just worried that maybe he still needs to see an actual, psychiatrist. So now he thinks he's saying he's fine, but he still has these paranoid, I guess, thoughts. So my mother was worried about the Zoloft. She's wondering if there's any long-term effects from taking this drug, and what can we do as a family to help him with this depression, if that's what it is. It could also be something else. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
Those are my questions.
Yeah. Well, Jacqui, what do you think?
I think you're right that he needs to see a psychiatrist. However, that said, the medical establishment being what it is, seeing the primary care doctor or your nurse practitioner for your first bout of depression and then putting you on Zoloft is par for the course. That tracks. That makes sense that that's what happened. It's not a bad medication as medications go. So what happens with depression is sometimes people are depressed so long the chemical makeup in their brain changes, and the medication can help restore that to some level. So it probably is making him feel much better. Anything we put into our body can have long-term effects. So following up with a psychiatrist and having someone tracking his medication and the changes, and not just a psychiatrist, but I think he should also be seeing a therapist weekly, because the therapist will see them more often than a psychiatrist, and that therapist will be able to notice if the medication is giving him problems or if it's working, and it can communicate with the doctor professionally to make adjustments and changes. And so he needs that consistent support, and also a therapist could help him with what other substances is he taking in? And people don't really realize that sometimes marijuana can cause these paranoid thoughts in certain people in certain periods of time. At certain ages, it's not necessarily safe. And if there is any mental illness that runs in the family, coded in the DNA, that can be the key that unlocks it. And so he may have started smoking marijuana or using gummies during his adolescent, between like 15 and 25, and it may have unlocked something in him. And so I think you're right to be encouraging him to see a psychiatrist and to get a therapist and to be really honest with them so that he can get a treatment program that works for him. And also, there may have been other things like ADHD or anxiety or depression going on before that he was trying to self-medicate with those gummies. So what led him to the gummies? We need to see a psychiatrist and get underneath it.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. I'm going to ride on Dr. Jacqui's tails here because there's temporal lobes. There's two parts of your brain that are impacted by marijuana. And, it's so weird how marijuana is now legalized and everybody thinks it's just fine. But let me tell you something. We've got about another probably 8 to 10 years, and they're going to probably have to prohibit marijuana use because there's a lot more mental health issues attached to marijuana use. There's going to be more car accidents, more injuries, more la. But you've got to go through that whole cycle before they think, oh, no, it's actually not so good for the brain. Mm-hmm. The two parts of the brain that it impacts are the prefrontal cortex. That's the boss of the brain. That's the smart part of the brain that helps you manage decisions, make good choices. And the other part are the temporal lobes. Do you know when marijuana is toxic on those temporal lobes, they shut down. And what happens is you can have marijuana-induced psychosis, marijuana-induced paranoia, paranoid slights. All those things are because the temporal lobes are being compromised. So follow that lead, because I think, somebody can be using marijuana and gummies and all that and be taking Zoloft and it neutralizes it. It doesn't really help it because the brain is confused about what you're telling me to do with what you're, putting in your mouth. So just follow what Jacqui said, and I'll just add my little 2 bits.
Yeah.
Chris, thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. Because just to add on to that, Melissa, I think just the most important thing here is your brother is suffering. So there's some substance, maybe, we need to rule out what we call eliminate, to see what substance is impacting that, but what mental health condition. And we don't want to prescribe the wrong medication for the wrong diagnosis. That's why you're spot on, Melissa. He needs to see high-level psychiatry here, because when we get into the areas of paranoia, we're not talking about something that is inconvenient. We are talking about something that is lethal. And so we want to make sure that, yes, you do what you can to get your brother and the family, get your brother into the care. And that's how you want to frame it. We care for you. We believe in you. You're not crazy. You're not off. You're just struggling with something that we want you to be able to work through so that you can get to a healthier place. Melissa, thank you so much for being a great sister. And we're going to send you a copy of the Life Recovery Bible just as a token of appreciation for being a great sister, and wishing you and your family in the midst of this situation a very Merry Christmas. As I think about Christmas and this Christmas, there are so many things that come with the holidays. And one of the words I keep coming back to over and over and again, it's actually the pinnacle of the emotional pinnacle of the recovery process. And it's one word: peace. Peace. And man, is that hard to come by these days. No, it's hard to come by in my life, but one of the things is that there is the Psalm. So in Psalm 34, it says this: in the midst of your life, it says, seek peace and pursue it. Friends, peace is not something that happens to us. It's something that we pursue and that we cultivate. And so I do wish you, wherever you are, whatever you're doing today, on this Christmas day, the peace of Christ that passes all understanding. And I want to encourage you and even challenge you, and myself being the first of those, to cultivate peace in your life. And if that requires recovery, if that requires work, counseling, whatever. But whatever it is, Merry Christmas and be well.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Thanks for watching today. We love helping people. I hope you sense that. And we know that there's always hope if you find the right resource. Now, if something we've said to somebody else applies to you, that's fantastic. That's what we're hoping for. But also, if you want to join us directly, you can call 1-800-229-3000 between 1 and 3 Eastern Time, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesdays. Those are the best times to get through. And while you're here on YouTube, check out these other videos that we've done to help people see where they could grow or a different path to take. And if you do that, would you give us a thumbs up on the video? And please subscribe to this channel. There are many ways that we can help you outside of the radio program, and it's very hard for some to pick up a phone and dial 1-800-NEW-LIFE. But when you do, we put you in touch with somebody who cares about you, knows all the resources out there, and they're going to find the best for you. There is no reason to struggle alone. I hope to see you tomorrow. Hope you'll invite somebody else to come and join that maybe needs just a little bit of help along the way. I'll see you next time.